It's race 3 of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany here at the Lausitzring. It's like a bonus. We're getting an extra race this weekend. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Lausitzring. The sun is shining. We're sincerely hoping it's going to stay that way as we get ready for the third race of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany. Conditions are lovely at the moment. 23.9 degrees centigrade. That's somewhat different to how it was when we attempted to get this season started back in April. And that was when the snow was falling at Spa-Francorchamps. On that particular occasion, we had quali. We saw Marcus Pommer putting the car on pole position, but at that point, the season got abandoned. Well, the season did get abandoned. The event got abandoned because of snow. So it means that the two races that we were due to have at Spa-Francorchamps have been rescheduled. We had race 1 of the weekend yesterday, and it was there that we saw Marcus Pommer and Valentina Catalana do what they thought they were going to do at Spa. It was Pommer who started on pole position with Valentina Catalana. They took the win ahead of Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz. We had race 2 earlier on today, and it was revenge because it was Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi who took the top step of the podium. Pole position went the way of Julian Apotelos, but it was during the pit stop sequence that Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi were able to make the jump over Julian Apotelos and Riccardo Cirelli. I'm very pleased to see that car there on pole position. Has a majestic archway above it as well. You come and do my car while you're at it if you want. Windscreen clean, everybody. But that is great news because Keanu Al-Azari, one of the real superstars of this weekend, making his debut in Prototype Cup Germany this weekend. He's a driver who's still running in Formula 4 Spain, and he's jumped into the LMP3s, but in race 2, there was a lot of smoke and he was forced to retire from the race, and we were a bit worried that he wasn't going to be able to make it for this race. Not only has he made it, but he's also on pole position. Julian Apotelos, though, is lining up alongside him in second place in car 8. Julian Apotelos has another of the young chargers. There's Valentina Catalana giving us the thumbs up. Julian Apotelos has another of the young charges for company. Riccardo Cirelli, the 16-year-old pilot who has impressed this weekend as well, and he is sharing the driving duties with Julian Apotelos. Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi driving the Franz Conrad motorsport car, the number 2 Ligier, and they are starting 4th on the grid. You did see briefly Valentina Catalana at the side of the car because Marcus Pommer is in the wheel of car number 70. He's starting 3rd on the grid, and that is Maxim Dirks. Please, I don't have to colour match that paint scheme. A spectacular look, the hundreds and thousands of car 18. Maxim Dirks, along with Sven Bart, were in trouble with the stewards in the race earlier today. Just had a fairly torrid time of it. 6th place and a 7th place yesterday, so looking to improve on that. Antti Ramo, he was impressive, but he was another one who's had close encounters of the stewards kind in the MRS GT Racing Ligier. He is one of the drivers that is running solo in his car. So, of the cars that we have on the grid, there's a legendary team, Fricadelli Racing, the car number 13, and there is a legend at the wheel, Klaus Abelin, his own team, Fricadelli Racing, and he's decided to do a full season, and hats off to him. A hugely talented driver, and at 63 years old, showing absolutely no signs of hanging up the helmet. He is against drivers who are getting on for 50 years younger than him, and Jaime Guzman, who lines up 8th on the grid. So, as I was about to mention, all cars have 2 pilots. So one pilot that'll start the race, the other that will change over during the mandatory pit stop. That is all bar 2 cars. Car 14, Antti Ramo, and our pole sitter, Keanu Al-Azari, are solo pilots. So they will still have to make a mandatory pit stop, but they will remain in the car. Now, it's a fairly complicated situation to get it all level. So the drivers are all classified by the FIA, depending on age, experience, what they've done, what they haven't done. So we have gold drivers, we have silver drivers, and bronze. So the gold drivers, we only have one of those on the grid, and that's Felipe Lazar. So he is gold rated. And many of the drivers on the grid are silver rated. They are the younger drivers. And then more of the kind of the Pro-Am category are the bronze rated drivers. Every car will need to come into the pits during the pit window, which will open 22 minutes into the race. And the minimum pit stop time will need to be 95 seconds. But we add to that a penalty, if you want to call it a penalty, a handicap, depending on the driver combination. So if you were to have a bronze and silver driver, there will be 10 seconds added on to the minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds. If you have a silver and silver driver, there's 20 seconds added. If you have a gold and bronze driver, as is the case with Felipe Lazar and Klaus Abelin, there is 10 seconds added. If there are two bronze drivers, there are 0 seconds added. Single silver driver has 25 seconds added, and a single bronze driver has 0 seconds added. It sounds complicated, but it's a great way of leveling the playing field. And if that wasn't complicated enough, the winner from the previous race gets an additional 7 seconds that they have to be stationary in the pits. So that is Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz. The second place from the previous race has 4 seconds added, so that'll be Julian Apostolos and Riccardo Cirelli. And the third place from earlier has an additional 2 seconds added. That's Marcus Pommer and Valentino Catalano. Confused much? Well, I know I am, but it is a great system, because it means that the drivers are not able to just run away with it, as we just saw Franz Conrad with his distinctive smile walking from the grid. And great to have him back involved, his team, Conrad Motorsport, here for this event here at the Lausitzring. It is race 3 of a 12-race season. We've got an additional race that needs to be slotted in somewhere as a result of the cancellation at Spa-Francorchamps. So that will occur at some point during the remainder of the season. The additional race will be slotted in to make it up to 12. It is the 3rd season of the Prototype Cup Germany, a wonderful championship that is organised by the ADAC in partnership with Creventic. It's the 2nd time that these cars have visited the Lausitzring. They visited here in 2022, and Mullner Motorsport was certainly one of the cars that featured as winners there. And our pole sitter, Keanu Al-Azari, who is running for Mullner Motorsport, will fancy his chances of repeating that feat here in 2024. These cars are powered by 5.6 litres of Nissan V8 engine. They produce about 455 brake horsepower. The engines are all naturally aspirated and identical. There are 2 kinds of chassis. We've got 4 Duquesnes on the grid and 4 Ligiers. I have to tell you, the noise is phenomenal. And while my colleague Chris Hartley was commentating on the 2nd race of the weekend for these wonderful cars, I had the privilege of sitting out on the terrace, and the ground absolutely shakes when they come past. It's Keanu Al-Azari for Mullner Motorsport on pole position. Julian Apostolos for BWT Motorsport alongside Marcus Pommer, defending champion, has Torsten Kratz for company on row 2 of the grid. Row 3, Maxim Dirks and Antti Ramo, who was looking so impressive, even though he's a bronze driver. And then the legendary Klaus Abelin and Jaime Guzman for AF2 Motorsport behind and at the back of the pack. It's all to play for, and once the pit stop window has opened, it will shuffle things up, mark my word. There is the championship standings at the moment. It's Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz who are at the top, courtesy of that win earlier today. But Valentino Catalano and Marcus Pommer very much in there, as indeed is Julian Apostolos and Ricardo Chiarelli in third place. In fact, any one of these drivers could be championship challengers. It is close. Marcus Pommer is the defending champion. He won it last year with Gary Hauser. Gary Hauser not defending this year. Marcus Pommer certainly is. He is by far the most experienced racer on the grid. We've seen him as a winner in GT Masters, amongst other things, over the years. Keep an eye on Sven Bart, who will be sharing duties with Maxim Dirks. But there are those pesky young Chargers in front of them as they come round of turn 12 to get ready for what will be 55 minutes plus 1 lap of racing in the Prototype Cup Germany. They are gridded up side by side. The red light is on and the red light is off. This is race 3 of the season for the Prototype Cup Germany. A great start from Julian Apostolos. He pulls ahead of Keanu Al-Azari into turn 1. Can he get it slowed down? Can we get all the cars around the corner? It's a heck of a squeeze. A real pinch point here at this circuit of the Lausitzring. But it's Julian Apostolos who beats the pole sitter into turn 1. I remind you, Keanu Al-Azari enjoying his first ever weekend in LMP3 racing and showing incredibly well. Julian Apostolos will be keen to get as much space as he can at the front before the pit window opens. Marcus Pommer in that third place. Torsten Kratz behind him. Then is Maxim Dirks and Antti Ramo in 6th place. Jaime Guzman in 7th and Klaus Abelin in 8th place. So there we go, 1 to 8, all in a line. A wonderful sight and a wonderful sound here at the Lausitzring. It is a circuit that is 3.478 kilometers around. That equates to about 2.16 miles. It has 12 turns. 7 of them go to the left and 5 to the right. Quite unusually, these cars run in an anti-clockwise direction. But this track, which is a very technical track, is very bumpy as well, and it can really unsettle these cars. Drivers talk about the eyesight vibrating as they go over the bumps around this circuit. They look so impressive. This long stretch where they could fan out, you could get the whole field side by side along the pit straight, but then it all funnels into the pinch point. A off-cambered pinch point that runs downhill slightly as well. Taking another look at the start from the perspective of turn 12. A lovely formation, no issues at all. They looked to see those 4 red lights up ahead of them. Not allowed to break formation until the lights go green. That's exactly what happened. Main bit was to get them all around the first corner. We haven't always succeeded on that front, but hey, 10 out of 10 this time here for race 3 this afternoon. Around turn 1, this is a great shot. Hanging over the pit wall. And the noise is absolutely deafening. We need to, at some point or the other, we'll just turn the volume up and I'll stop talking so you can hear these cars. We'll do that in a bit. And into turn 1 they come, but you can see Julian Apostolos had got the jump on Keanu Al-Azari pretty early on, and just feels as though Keanu very wisely choosing his battles carefully, not losing it all on the first corner. You outbrake yourself into that tricky first corner, you can run off, you can get damage, you can drop to the back of the pack. Better to just take it easy and pick your time later on in the race. So Julian Apostolos, the Swiss driver, the very likeable Swiss driver, always friendly, always up for a chat. For BWT Mucker Motorsport, leading the way in the Duqueine D08 prototype. Keanu Al-Azari in that second place. Now, looking back at Torsten Kratz, car number 2, sharing with Danny Soufi. Danny Soufi, another of the drivers that we saw last year. Torsten Kratz, we saw the year before that. So in 2022, in the opening year, he got second in the championship for Prototype Cup Germany. And he had a couple of wins. It's decided to come back to Prototype Cup Germany this year, and a very welcome addition alongside Danny Soufi. There's first, second, third. Marcus Pommer just there as well. There's Torsten Kratz, Maxim Dirks. and Antti Ramo. So the car 14 from Estonia, Antti Ramo, the bronze driver who was really holding his own against drivers who are silver and indeed gold. There is the legendary driver that is Klaus Abelin in car number 13. We're looking at car 12 at the moment. There is our race leader. So Julian Apothelos, 1.3 seconds. This is going to be all about gaps here in the first part of this race. So when the pit sequence comes, Julian Apothelos will hand over to Riccardo Corelli. They will have 115 seconds. Will need to be their minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit. Keanu Al-Awzari as a solo silver driver, well, he's going to cop the full 120 seconds that he's going to have to take. However, the Julian Apothelos at Riccardo Corelli pit stop will be extended further by 4 seconds as a result of their second place earlier today. We'll get used to that one day. So their pit stop will be just 1 second shorter than Keanu Al-Awzari. Looking at Marcus Pommer in car 70 and Valentina Catalana, their pit stop will be 117 seconds minimum pit stop time. That's 20 seconds on account of them both being silver drivers, and an additional 2 seconds for their third place earlier on today. So that is the first three. Torsten Kratz, well, he's a bronze driver. Danny Sufi is silver. So their pit stop time will be just 105 seconds, but they have got an additional 7 seconds on account of winning race 2 this morning. But their pit stop time will still be shorter than those in front of them, which is why the 1, 2, 3 want to break free as quick as possible. Keanu Al-Awzari, you can see how hard he's pushing, just picking up a bit of dirt onto the tyres, certainly not resting on his laurels. Keanu Al-Awzari, who's come straight from Formula 4 to drive one of these monsters, well, I say rather him than me. He's still running in Formula 4 in Spain, and when we had testing at Spa and qualifying at Spa earlier on in the year in the slippery conditions, he was the quickest, and but for exceeding track limits in a couple of places, he would have been quickest. He qualified third on his first attempt at qualifying there. Of course, the race never took place. He was great in race 1. He finished in 4th place yesterday and had that failure, mechanical failure in his car in the first race today. Now there's a car going slowly. It's the 47 car. That's Jaime Guzman, the Ligier JSP 320. He's struggling there. He's out towards turn 8, I do believe, but it looks as though there may be a mechanical issue on the car number 47 for AF2 Motorsport, the Ligier JSP 320. So he drops to the back. Klaus Abelin is promoted up a position to 7th place. There's our race leader, Keanu Al-Awzari. Keeping him honest, I think, would be the expression we would use. He's certainly not letting him get away. Marcus Pommer just keeping them all in sight as well. This is a game of poker at the moment. Is keeping the car on the grey stuff, keeping it out of the wall, keeping your challengers in sight, but nothing too dramatic, because, as I've mentioned already, the second part of the race, when the pit window opens, when your other drivers come in as well, that is when things could potentially change. We've got a yellow flag out in turn 7, so the drivers will need to make a noticeable reduction in speed, and that is because of Jaime Guzman, who is out there. Looks like he's stranded, and now the safety car is out. This is significant because the gaps are everything in Prototype Cup Germany. Safety car is going to bring the cars into single file. This will be an absolute gift for the likes of Antti Ramo because his pit stop will be significantly shorter than the cars in front of him. So if he can stay with the cars pretty close to them once the pit window opens, he will be in a very good position to jump a number of places. So safety car throwing a proper curved ball into the strategies. Julian Apothelos had opened up a decent gap to start off with. Keanu Al-Awzari was keeping him close. Now Marcus Pommer, he's going to be getting ideas of potentially another win here, along with Valentina Catalano. who we will see in the seat of that car in third place, the number 70 car, all being well once the pit stop sequence is done. So, behind the safety car at the moment, the pit window will start when the clock strikes 33. That is the 22nd minute of the race. So when the clock strikes 33, at the top left-hand corner of your screen, that's when the pit window will open. Then during that pit window, every car will need to come in for the mandatory stop. For all bar 2, a mandatory driver change as well. And then we have that complicated formula working out the minimum pit stop times, and the drivers will need to stick to those as well. If they go below those minimum pit stop times, the stewards will issue a penalty. So, single file at the moment. Julian Apostolos leading the way. Keanu Al-Azhari, the young 16-year-old driver. And you think, gosh, 16-year-old is very young to be driving one of these. Well, that is nothing, because the driver that is sharing the Julian Apostolos car is Riccardo Cirelli. And he was only 16 in February, so he is the youngest in the field, and he will be itching to get behind the wheel of the number 8 car. If Julian is able to be in the lead when he brings it into the pit, which seems a distinct possibility, the pressure on the shoulders of Riccardo Cirelli will be immense, but he does seem to lap up the pressure like nobody else, and doesn't seem to be too worried about it. So he will jump into the seat of the BWT Mucker Motorsport Prototype Cup Germany car. And I would just mention for BWT Mucker, they've just won the ADAC GT4 Germany race, which took place immediately before this. Mark Di Fulgenzio and Enzo Giulier won that race, and Peter Mucker would love it very much if one of his cars could win this race too. But with the minimum pit stop times, it could be very difficult. So we will see how it all shakes out. I think the blessing for Apostolos and for Riccardo Cirelli is that the drivers around them also have fairly lengthy pit stops that they're going to have to make as well. But we'll see how it shakes out. So I'm doing the maths as we go here. So car number 2, it will be 112 seconds will be their minimum pit stop time. Safety car is in on this lap. For Apostolos and Cirelli, it will have to be 119 seconds when they come in for their stop. For Keanu Al-Azhari, it will be 120 seconds. As we just keep an eye on that. And for Antti Ramo, though, it will be just 95 seconds that are required. For Marcus Palmer and Valentina Catalana, it will be 117 seconds. So this is going to scramble the order somewhat once the pit window opens. But we still have a bit of racing to go there yet. We're waiting for the clock to hit 33. The lights have gone green. The safety car is in the window. It's up to Julian Apostolos when he hits the accelerator. There can be no overtaking until they cross the line. So at the moment, Apostolos will want to get a jump on Keanu Al-Azhari. This is going to be a fairly new discipline to him, certainly in LMP3 racing. He would have done it in Formula 4. But anticipating when to go. Well, he's done a reasonable job. Across the line they come. It's Julian Apostolos who crosses the line. Some 9/10 of a second behind Keanu Al-Azhari. Marcus Palmer looking dangerous in third place. Torsten Kratz looking under pressure from Maxim Dirks in the car number 80. Looking to make up for what has been a difficult weekend so far. In the background, Antti Ramo, the bronze-rated driver, Klaus Abelin there in car number 13 for Fricadelli Racing as well. So the car that's looking most under attack at the moment, Torsten Kratz in fourth place. The winners of the previous race, along with Danny Sufi to the inside. Maxim Dirks sees a space, but he can't make it stick. Torsten Kratz carrying more momentum around the outside of turn 6 and turn 7. Out in towards turn 8 they come. Julian Apostolos, he's opened up that gap again to Keanu Al-Azhari. About 1.4, and building from there. Then is Marcus Palmer. Torsten Kratz, well, he's fended off Maxim Dirks for the time being. Antti Ramo continuing to impress as he keeps up with the cars in front of him. Klaus Abelin there as well. Out into turn 10 and 11, up onto the bank trioval once again. Flat out the rumble and the speed of these cars as they come out on to the start-finish line. Absolutely everything. Fastest lap of the race is Keanu Al-Khazari, I beg your pardon, in the second place. He is the fastest man, lap 4 at 1:22.669. So he holds the fastest lap of the race so far. So certainly the pace is there in car 21. The Molnar Motorsport Duquesne. There's our race leader first, second, third. Gap, Torsten Kratz. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Still another 7 minutes or so until the pit window opens, and it'll be the strategy time for the team when they have to decide whether to leave the driver out, whether to bring them in. The team may well decide who is the quickest of the two drivers they have and decide to maximize the seat time for that particular driver. That is, of course, except Keanu Al-Khazari and Antti Ramo, because they are the solo drivers. But still, when they pit for their mandatory stop, will be critical, because the team may want to get them out on some open track so they could potentially do an undercut, an overcut, or whatever to the cars that are around them. Right, here comes our race leader, Julian Apostolos, across the line. 1.2 down to 0.9. So Keanu Al-Khazari is taking 0.3 out of the race leader. Julian Apostolos, the driver that we have enjoyed watching in ADAC GT4, TCR over the years. TCR Germany is where we first started taking notes of him. He's come through the ranks of GT racing, very much finding a home in the LMP3 class, the Prototype Cup Germany. And Julian Apostolos, the Swiss driver, who was second in the championship last year. He took 3 wins. He was also second in the junior championship in Prototype Cup Germany. He was in GT4. It was in 2020. My memory does serve me correctly. He's also done NLS. He's been in the World Challenge, GT World Challenge Europe. He's also raced in the Nürburgring 24-hour race. He was recommended to Jörg van Orman, the driver from the owner from Zakspeed formerly. He was recommended by Bernd Schneider. And he is clearly somebody who is up and coming in the world of racing. We just saw Antti Ramo there with a bit of blue smoke, locking up a brake, but keeping it all going, all pointing in the right direction. 38 minutes remaining of this race. Apostolos in the lead at the moment. Across the line he comes once again. 1.2 seconds ahead of Keanu Al-Khazari, so extending the gap again. Then a gap back to Marcus Pommer. There is Antti Ramo down into turn 1, the little downhill section. And there is Antti Ramo in the MRS GT Racing car. The number 14 that had Jan Marszałkowski at the wheel of it last year, won a race in that car. He is currently in ADAC GT4 Germany this year, and will be no doubt watching his old car from the side. You can see how bumpy it is there as they come out of turn 6. The car's bouncing around, and of course aerodynamics and ground effect very much a thing in LMP3. And as the cars bounce around, the downforce will reduce. You can see how bumpy it is for car 14. And as the drivers have said, their vision blurring a little bit as they go over the bumps, trying to hold it all together and keeping the car pointing in the right directions. These are absolute monsters. They take a bit of fighting, and as they come out of turn 14, let's just have a listen to the engine noise. Wonderful sound, the sound of 5.6 litres of Nissan V8 producing the 455 brake horsepower, naturally aspirated. There is no sound quite like an LMP3 car around here, echoing around the stands here at the Lausitzring, almost haunting. It's a wonderful, wonderful sound. As I've already mentioned, two chassis available, the Duquesne D08 and the Ligier JSP 320. We have seen Ginettas here as well. They are permitted in this. Also, the Ades 03 is permitted, but we've yet to see one in the Prototype Cup Germany. The drivetrain is supplied by Orica, the legendary engine and transmission supplier. The cars have traction control, but no power steering, so a bit of a workout. A minimum weight of about 950 kilos, 100 litres of fuel can go in the fuel tank, with 6 speeds in the transmission. Steel brakes. The cars are about 4.6 metres long, about 0.8 of a metre wide, a big 13-inch wide, 20-inch diameter wheels on them. So great monsters, and echoing around here at the Lausitzring. They are a sight to behold. They're very much the entry-level prototype, launched in 2015, were the LMP3s by the ACO, intended for introducing young drivers and new teams to endurance racing before they progress to higher classes of prototype racing. The second generation of LMP3 cars was introduced in 2020, and it was the ADAC in association with Creventic who started this championship. Well, this is the third season. So 2022 was the first year for them. Still very much a championship that is growing and gathering pace, but certainly people who come here, it always turns a few heads when you see these monstering around the circuit. Right, back to the news. The news is Julian Apothelos is leading, but Keanu Alazari is turning the wick up a little bit. So 0.8 of a second last time around. By my reckoning, that looks a little closer than that as they head into turn 10 and into turn 11. We'll see what it is when they cross the timing beam. 0.80 second. Of course, you get the piano accordion effect in and out of the corners, but out onto the pit straight. Let's see what it is. So 0.80 seconds. Apothelos crosses the line and 0.721. So Keanu Alazari reeling him in just a bit. Gap back to Marcus Palmer. 3.272 down the road is Marcus Palmer. So not in the battle for the lead at the moment, but we are getting very close to the pit window opening. And when that window opens, this is when the strategy will really start to kick in, and especially keep an eye on Antti Ramos. So he at the moment is 16.8 seconds off this lead battle. Once the pit stop sequences have finished, he will find himself propelled potentially further up the order. Now look at this for the lead. Julian Apothelos. There is Riccardo looking from the garage, Riccardo Cirelli, but Keanu Alazari quite fancies the opportunity to make a move on the pink BWT car a little bit ahead of the pit stop window opening. You can see from your graphic the pit window is opening because the clock struck 33. So now there is the opportunity for the drivers to come in. Everybody stays out at the moment. My prediction is, for what it's worth, is that Julian Apothelos is going to stay out to the end of this window because he is the more experienced of the two drivers. He has an open track in front of him, so it would make sense for him to make hay while the sun shines, so to speak, and stay out. What he doesn't want to do is release Keanu Alazari into an open track and allow him to potentially perform an undercut. Right, we've got the number 2 car into the pits. So Torsten Kratz is in. Danny Sufi is going to be taking the wheel of that. These lengthy pit stops will feel like an eternity. 112 seconds for that car there. Car number 2, the Conrad Motorsport team. headed up by the legendary Franz Conrad. Also in, Klaus Abelin for Fricadelli Racing. You just saw him flashing through your picture there. Felipe Laza will be on standby. Now, Felipe is the only gold-rated driver in this race. Their pit stop time will be 105 seconds. So this is going to give them an opportunity. And Felipe Laza, a very useful pilot. Well, we know he's useful. He's won the Nürburgring 24-hour race a couple of years ago. He will be behind the wheel of that car number 30, and we expect him to make progress up the order. Riccardo Cirelli, well, his heart's going to be racing a little bit here because it's his first ever weekend in LMP3 racing. 4 years ago, he was but a spectator. He started in karting. 4 years ago, his mother asked Peter Mucker whether he could sit in one of their cars. He said, yeah, why not? Peter Mucker stayed in contact with this man, has been watching him as he's grown in stealth and in speed through karting. And 4 years later, he is now driving for Peter Mucker. Potentially will be jumping into a car that is leading the race. That has been driven by Julian Apostolos. There is Peter Mucker looking on, as cool as a cucumber. He's done this many, many times before. A legendary team owner, a legendary racer in his own right. The name Mucker, synonymous with motorsport in Germany. And he would dearly love to add to his GT4 race from earlier this afternoon to add to that win. Keanu Al-Azari peeling off into the pits. Now, this feels like a very good strategy for the Molnar Motorsport team, because if they can get him in, he'll have 120 seconds that he's going to be sat around twiddling his thumbs. If he can get him in and get him out on some open track, that will have taken some calculation, then potentially he could perform an undercut on the number 8 car. So in he comes. He'll probably open the driver's door and let a bit of air in if he's got any sense at all, because it is absolutely cooking inside these cars. He is not going to get out. The obligatory windscreen wash, the cut and blow dry that is performed. The only way you can get to the windscreen is to straddle the bonnet of these LMP3 cars. He does that, but a good vision is important. It's fairly late in the afternoon here. It's 12 minutes past 5 local time. The sun is reasonably low in the sky, so having a good line of vision is important. Into the pits comes Maxim Dirks, heading over to Sven Bart, a driver that we have enjoyed over the years, watching him racing in GT Masters. And he's decided another crack of the whip. He was in GT Masters between 2013 and 2019. He was the trophy champion in GT Masters in 2019 and 7th overall. He started off in Formula 3, did Sven Bart. We're still looking at Keanu Al-Azari. This pit stop is going to feel fairly long and drawn out. That's because it is fairly long and drawn out. Car number 80, well, his pit stop is 115 seconds. So Sven Bart will need to be 115. That is from pit entry to pit exit. Julian Apostolos continues out. I reckon he's going to be out for a couple more laps before he hands over to Riccardo Cirelli. The good news should hopefully, well, Riccardo Cirelli, what he'll hope to do is to come out clear of the second place car. But of course, now Keanu Al-Azari is rolling out of the pit lane, keeping to the speed limit. So he will now be out on track. Now, where is he going to join? I'm just looking as he rejoins, and he's going to have a nice clear bit of track in front of him. Behind him is Antti Ramo in car 14. So Al-Azari will have a nice clear bit of track in front of him. His team will be saying, right, give it everything. Let's see if we can get the jump on the number 8 car for when he comes out of the pit. You can see Sven Bart has pitted. Well, he has jumped into the seat. Danny Sufi, who's taken over from Torsten Kratz, the winner from earlier on this afternoon. So 3 cars still to pit. Julian Apostolos, Marcus Pommer and Antti Ramo. Ramo, who is the solo driver, will stay out. Strategically, well, he's running on his own, so probably won't make a great deal of difference when he comes in. Our race leader continuing out for another lap. Now, Pommer is in. He is going to be handing over to Valentino Catalano. Valentino, who had never raced here at the Lausitzring up until this weekend, has been putting in the laps on the simulator over the last few months. He put that to good effect yesterday by winning the first race, and they started on pole position for that and getting a third place in race 2 earlier today. 117 seconds is going to be the pit time that they will need to be. Minimum pit stop time from pit entry to pit exit. So, Pommer out. Beats a fairly hasty retreat, actually. Getting out as quick as possible. And the driver that's getting into the seat is Valentino Catalano, so he's getting ready to go. So just 2 cars now waiting to pit. Of course, the 47 car, we saw Jaime Guzman parked up outside of the track, and sadly for Robert Doyle, his trip from the USA is going to have been for nothing. Well, he got to race earlier, but he's not going to be racing today. Right now, here comes Julian Apostolos into the pits, because the pit window, well, he's still got a little under 3 minutes, so he's not leaving it to the absolute last minute, but wants to get in, get Riccardo Cirelli into the seat and get him out again as soon as possible. So, keeping to the speed limit, in he comes to a stop. 119 seconds is gonna be the pit stop for this car. That is with the driver rating taken into consideration, and also with the additional success penalty, we'll call it, a success handicap. Wow, that felt like a quick stop for car 70. So Pommer in car 70 has handed over to Catalano, and Catalano rejoins the race. Out he comes, so he's still behind Keanu Al-Azari. The question is going to be, well, will Keanu Al-Azari be in comparison to that car there, car number 8? We're looking at a replay as he came into, this was on his in lap, and you can see him sliding the back end as he came into the pit lane. Bit of drifting going on there, car number 8, and looks very impressive, but not always the quickest way of doing it. But Julian Apostolos, his work is done for the weekend. Riccardo Cirelli in the seat. The pressure is on his shoulders. Now, there is Keanu Al-Azari. Antti Ramo is in the lead of the race, but he is yet to make his stop. So in comes Ramo at the last possible minute. So the new race leader at the moment is Keanu Al-Azari. Where will Cirelli join in comparison to car number 21? So 21 coming out along the pit straight now. That is the car that is leading the race. The pink car that was leading before the pit window opened into the pit lane. He hits the accelerator, and it is Riccardo Cirelli who retains the lead of this race. Once the pit sequence is over, he's taken over from Julian Apostolos. Antti Ramo will be stationary for less time in the pit, so we'll see where he comes out. So 2 young Chargers, 2 16-year-old drivers leading the way in the Prototype Cup Germany, race 3 of the season. This is the future of motorsport. It is the present of motorsport. And it is Riccardo Cirelli and Keanu Al-Azari, both in their first ever weekend in the Prototype Cup Germany, their first ever weekend racing in the LMP3 category. There is Antti Ramo, the bronze-rated driver, just waiting for the clock to tick down. He's a positive veteran in comparison at 41 years old. Here comes first and second now. Ramo in the pit lane. To remind you, he will have been stationary for a lot less time, just 95 seconds. If his team have timed it right, he's on the move into the pit lane. It looks as though Cirelli and Al-Azari Al-Azari are gonna be in front of him, but Antti Ramo looking pretty solid for third place around turn 1 into turn 2. The first 3 all together on the track. Antti Ramo has jumped up into the lead of the race. He did get it going. So Antti Ramo, the new race leader. We said the pit sequence would set this race on fire, but now the relatively inexperienced Cirelli is gonna have to find a route past, as is Keanu Al-Azari in third place. Azari fancies his chances. He knows that as Riccardo Cirelli tries to challenge Antti Ramo for the lead of this race, it may be his opportunity to sneak through. 1, 2, 3, all running together. A bronze driver, 2 silver drivers, a little over 21.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. In the background, if this lot all get together, is Valentina Catalano in car number 70. Also Danny Sufi in the background as well. You saw them in the top of your picture. So the first 5 almost in one shot. The first 3 definitely all within one shot. Great stuff. Now what's going to happen? Out of turn 12, onto the pit straight, absolutely flat out, so fast these cars are, bumping down the pit straight, past the pits, flashing the lights. Now Cirelli, is he brave enough to make a move into turn 1? A daredevil move, but he's got to be careful. Keanu Al-Azari has a little look as well. Still, the very, very impressive Antti Ramo holding on to that lead. The bronze-rated driver who's come into motorsport fairly late in life compared to many. From Estonia, he develops educational software for schools in his spare time, or maybe in his full time. He's an amateur triathlete. He only started karting at age 23, and he's come through Italian touring cars. He is leading in Prototype Cup Germany, the LMP3 race 3 here at the Lausitzring. Riccardo Cirelli would dearly love to get past Julian Apotelos. Will be watching from behind a cushion in the pits because Keanu Al-Azari has a look to the inside. It's so important that these 2 young 16-year-old drivers do not get together. Valentino Catalano would be quite happy if they did. He's in 4th place, watching from a little bit further back. So pit stops are all done and dusted. No more penalties or stops that we're aware of at the moment. So as you are racing for the win, Felipe Laza in 7th place at the moment, but he's only 1.5 seconds behind Sven Bart in 6th place. So he is pushing forwards, but 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, there they go, all into turn 1, running together. Antti Ramo, so much pressure on his shoulders. Riccardo Cirelli, his heart will be racing, having taken over from Julian Apotelos. Keanu Al-Azari, after the disappointment of race 2 today, he just wants to pounce and get on that podium. Valentina Catalano, a real challenger in the championship, in 4th place. There's Felipe Laza picking off the places. Sven Bart, an experienced driver, but he's got nothing for Felipe Laza. So Laza up into 6th place. They've got about 17 seconds that Laza's going to have to make it to catch up with Danny Sufi, who you see at the back of your shot there. But do not count out Felipe Laza. He is such a quick pilot. You do not win the Nürburgring 24-hour race unless you are rapid and very, very good. We're looking again as they came off the tri-oval. It was a gap on the inside. Sven Bart giving him the space that he needed. He did try and cut back to the inside. He saw the gap, wondering if Laza was going to get it slowed down. Bad news for him is that Laza did, and so he had to make do with 7th place. So Laza up to 6th place. But look at this. The first 5 almost running nose to tail because Valentina Catalana is closing in. He's 1.5 seconds back from Keanu Al-Azari, and you get the feeling that the 3-way battle for the lead may well soon become a 4 or possibly even 5-way battle, because Danny Sufi, in his 2nd year in Prototype Cup Germany, also fancies his chances at a podium. 0.4 of a second was the gap between 1st and 2nd. A little lock-up from Antti Ramo. The pressure getting to him a little. Cirelli thought he saw the opportunity. Keanu Al-Azari also saw his opportunity. Still nothing changes. Not a lot of experience in the first three. So what can they do? A lot of experience in fourth place, though. Maybe he's just waiting to pick up the pieces if these cars get together. Overtaking not always easy here at the Lausitzring. Probably out of turn 12, getting a good exit and in towards turn 1. It's a brave move as you break into turn 1, but that's the best opportunity to overtake. But it is a very tight pinch point as they turn left into turn 1 of this circuit. We're looking at turn 12 at the moment, onto the big wide trioval. Now flat out along past the pits, Keanu Alizari lining up Riccardo Cirelli. Still not really close enough to make a challenge at the moment. Antti Ramo holding on to that lead despite that lockup that we saw, but Catalano in fourth place, closing in on all of them. 0.7 of a second was the gap, but now they've closed in. Danny Sufi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all running pretty well line astern here at the Lausitzring, the third race of the weekend for the Prototype Cup Germany. We've got a little under 16.5 minutes plus 1 lap of this. Keanu Alizari having another look. What dare he try? How hard will the car in front defend? How hard will Riccardo Cirelli defend from the blue and white car that is attacking him? He sees a gap to the inside under braking. This is his moment. Keanu Alizari through into second place, making up for what was a disappointing race 2, but Cirelli trying to come back at him. In towards turn 9 and 10 they come. Suddenly, Valentino Catalano fancies a bit of the action, but he is vulnerable to Danny Sufi in 5th place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful stuff from Prototype Cup Germany out of turn 12 onto the pit straight. Now, what can Keanu Alizari do about Antti Ramo? We've seen that he can make the move and he can make it stick because he's moved up to second place. Danny Sufi fancies a little go at Valentino Catalano. Catalano in that queue, not in a podium position at the moment, but that could all change. We've still got 15.25 minutes remaining. The top 5 nose to tail. We're having another look here at Keanu Alizari as he made his move on Riccardo Cirelli for that second place. He sold the dummy to the outside. He cut to the inside. There's Sven Bart having a big smoky moment. He keeps it on the track by the looks of things. No, he doesn't, so he's onto the grass, but he's been able to rejoin. So Sven Bart in 7th place and struggling a little bit for traction by the looks of things. Look at Danny Sufi challenging Valentino Catalano to the inside. He sees a gap and through goes car number 2. That was not in the game plan for Valentino Catalano, that the Conrad Motorsport car should come sailing through. But Danny Sufi fancies a go. Riccardo Cirelli in that 3rd place. Danny Sufi fancies a trophy for his trophy cabinet and he's lining himself up for it. He's got a little under 14 minutes plus 1 lap. Out onto the pit straight we come once again. Still time left in this race for it all to change. It could all change, and that's exactly what's happening. Keanu Alizari to the inside of Antti Ramo in turn 1, Rans turn 2, and look at the slide for Riccardo Cirelli. He goes off into the gravel trap. He keeps it going. He loses a whole loads of places. Danny Sufi also off onto the dirt. That's allowing Valentino Catalano to come back. Antti Ramo for the lead around the outside of Keanu Alizari. Alizari fighting back out of turn 5 towards turn 6. Antti Ramo back in the lead, locking up a breakdown. Keanu Alizari trying to get through. Danny Sufi suddenly with a sniff of the win of this race. Riccardo Cirelli drops back to 5th place. A disastrous couple of corners as he went across the gravel trap, but he's not done yet. He may well still come back. Antti Ramo, how did he get back into the lead? He did that brilliantly, but in 2nd place, Keanu Alizari. Let's have another look here. Alizari into turn 1. He saw the gap, but well, it was a very clean move, but then Ramo went wide, got together with Cirelli. Cirelli taking avoiding action across the gravel track on the inside of turns 2 and 3. So the 2 cars making the slightest of contact, and then Ramo, in all the confusion, how did he get past Keanu Al-Azhari. Well, we saw that there. Cirelli going past one of his sponsors' banners to the inside. Once again, Keanu Al-Azhari trying to challenge, but now he's got Danny Sufi all over him. Danny Sufi looks to the outside. Keanu Al-Azhari having to defend as well as attack. Joining the battle, Valentina Catalano putting the pressure onto Danny Sufi. Everybody's pressuring everybody. Riccardo Cirelli has nobody behind him, so he can potentially make a move on Valentina Catalano. A lock up from Danny Sufi. You saw the smoke. Catalano goes to the outside. Doesn't take advantage of that lock up. Cirelli there as well in the queue, still waiting to pounce. Antti Ramo, bronze-rated driver, still leading this race. It's as you were almost, well, certainly as far as first and second goes. Keanu Al-Azhari back into that second place. Danny Sufi in third. Valentina Catalano in fourth. In fifth, Riccardo Cirelli. What more can be served up? Into turn 11 we come once again onto the banking. Into turn 12. Is somebody going to make a move into turn 1? You just know they're thinking about it. Less than 11.5 minutes remaining of this race. It could all change. Who is going to win this? Race 3 of the season. It could be any one of these 5 drivers that you see racing towards you and in towards turn 1. Antti Ramo at the moment with Keanu Al-Azhari. Danny Sufi for Conrad Motorsport in third place. Valentino Catalano, the driver that came through the route of Formula 4, has always been something of a challenger here in Prototype Cup Germany. Would dearly love to take the championship. There's a lock-up again from Antti Ramo. You can see how hard he's pushing. You get the feeling that the tyres on these LMP3 cars are starting to cry enough. They're starting to get a little bit tired. The hard racing across the 55 minutes plus 1 lap, taking its toll on the rubber. The top 5 still running together. Ramo, once again, the puff of smoke as he locks up a brake. Keanu Al-Azhari will know that the car in front is struggling a little under braking. Will be looking to put the pressure on. Keanu Al-Azhari will want to force him into a mistake, but Danny Sufi there in the background, just waiting for his moment too. Up into turn 12 we come, out onto the pit straight once again. Absolutely flat out. 10 minutes remaining of this race, plus the obligatory 1 lap. The top 5 still running nose to tail. Into turn 1. Antti Ramo holding it all together. Immense pressure. Danny Sufi just dropping back a little. This is the opportunity for Keanu Al-Azhari to make his move. I'm looking around as if we need any more random element. There's some very dark clouds circulating the Lausitzring at the moment, and there is some lightning in the distance. We got 9.5 minutes of this race as Ramo locks up once again. There is some lightning around, but I think we could potentially get this race done and dusted before the rain comes. I think it is imminent at the moment. Antti Ramo doing all that he can, as if these drivers needed any more of a challenge in the last 9 minutes of the race. Again, now puff of blue smoke from Antti Ramo. He really is trying hard. Keanu Al-Azhari with Danny Sufi behind. There's a lock up there from Valentina Catalano as well. So the tyre's getting hard, getting tired. Oh, the tyre's getting tired on these cars. Right, Antti Ramo up high, Keanu Al-Azhari down low, Danny Sufi tracking every move from Keanu Al-Azhari. He looks to the inside. Azhari blocks the move. Here to the outside goes Danny Sufi into turn 1. Another puff of smoke for Danny Sufi from the race leader Antti Ramo, but Danny Sufi sweeping past Keanu Al-Azhari into that second place. So Danny Sufi picking up the pace and picking up the position. Keanu Al-Azhari relegated down into third place, now into the clutches of Valentina Catalano. Riccardo Cirelli there as well, ready to pounce again. That puff of smoke. You wonder whether Antti Ramo Ramo is struggling a little. Keanu Al-Azari is the fastest man on the track. He has the fastest lap of the race. Antti Ramo, though, leading the way. That telltale puff of blue smoke when he goes into some of the corners. He's locking up the brake. Now, the challenge is on for the 5th place. And Riccardo Cirelli just having a look at Valentino Catalano. The audacious move, maybe it would be for Catalano, the driver who's way more experienced of the two, although Valentino Catalano still only 18 years old, so still only a couple of years older than the driver who is attacking him. Here comes our race leader once again, Antti Ramo. Danny Sufi now looking very dangerous indeed along the pit straight. Ramo goes to the inside, but Sufi sticks his nose in, under braking into turn 1, and it's Danny Sufi. Can he slow it down? Yes, he can. So Antti Ramo, after leading for such a long time, relegated into 2nd place. Now Keanu Al-Azari fancies his chance at a go at 2nd place. Let's have another look at that. Danny Sufi saw the gap to the inside. I wonder whether Antti Ramo was going to go and try and block him, but he didn't do that. He locked up the wheel into turn 1, and through went Danny Sufi. He and Torsten Kratz looking for their 2nd win of the day in the Prototype Cup Germany here at the Lausitzring. 6.5 minutes remaining. I've got one eye on the skies as well, but it's Sufi leading the way, and he's looking pretty strong. Keanu Al-Azari to the inside. Antti Ramo, there's a gap. He'll be wanting to pressure Ramo into making that mistake, to locking up that wheel, to potentially leaving a gap on the inside. Still, Valentino Catalano is holding off Riccardo Cirelli. And here comes Danny Sufi once again. He looks to have this well under control with less than 6 minutes remaining plus 1 lap. But anything can happen in Prototype Cup Germany. Out along the pit straight they come, headlights blazing. And Danny Sufi, well, he's opened up about 3/4 of a second on 2nd place during that last lap. It's up to 1.5 seconds in total. And Antti Ramo in the 2nd place, breaking clear a little from Keanu Al-Azari, who's looking more and more under pressure from Valentino Catalano. So Antti Ramo in the 2nd place. Solid job from him. Worked it to his advantage with the pit stops. But a lot of pressure still coming from Keanu Al-Azari. Still, Riccardo Cirelli trying to find his way past Valentino Catalano. Still, Keanu Al-Azari in the last of the podium places, though. Cirelli to the outside, just showing himself, trying to push Valentino Catalano into doing something he didn't want to do. The 2 cars almost making contact, but Catalano just holding on to it. The number 70 car, the Ducane D08s, fighting each other. 2 identical cars, 2 identical engines. Valentino Catalano at the moment in 4th place. Riccardo Cirelli in 5th. The 2 cars in front of them have broken clear a little. Antti Ramo, Keanu Al-Azari has a little look to the inside of Antti Ramo. The 2 cars get together, and Al-Azari goes a spinning. There may have been a little bit of contact. It looked like a little bit of a dive bomb maneuver, but a podium now looking very much out of the question. Such a shame. Keanu Al-Azari dropping down into, I think it's going to probably be 7th place once it's all done and dusted. And there is Valentino Catalano taking a slightly unusual line. There's a bit of damage on the Antti Ramo car. He goes deep into the corner, so maybe the contact with Keanu Al-Azari may have damaged the car. His pace still looks okay at the moment, but Valentino Catalano in 3rd place now, all of a sudden onto the podium positions. Antti Ramo trying to come back at him. Riccardo Cirelli sees the signs though, and sees the spacer. He is through, and Antti Ramo now down behind Cirelli in that 4th place. So the battle for 2nd place rages on. Suddenly, Valentino Catalano, he had a feeling it was going to explode in front of him. It's exploding behind him because Antti Ramo, the back end of the car, steps around and he is now pointing in the wrong direction. Felipe Latta is going to step up into 4th place. The leader, Danny Sufi, crosses the line. He's a long way ahead of this battle now. Valentino Catalano 10 seconds back, though, with Riccardo Cirelli still challenging. Cirelli, who has been challenging all race long, he took over from Julian Apostolos in the number 8 car. Julian Apostolos, who did all the hard work at the start of the race. Riccardo Cirelli inheriting the seat of that car, now trying to bring it home on the podium. Well, he's in 3rd place at the moment. Would dearly love to promote it up into 2nd place. Keanu Alazari in 7th place at the moment. I'm just checking to see whether he's still running, and I'm not sure whether he is or not. I'll need to just double check that. Certainly, though, it is Valentino Catalano in 2nd place, but Riccardo Cirelli challenging him hard for position. I have a feeling that we may have lost Keanu Al-Azari as a result of that spin that we saw earlier. No, I think he is still moving, and let's have another look here to see what happened. Into turn 1. Got together. It was a fairly optimistic move. Antti Ramo closing the door. Let's have a look here, see whether there was a gap. Well, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. It's certainly not my position to judge who was at fault there, but the result was Keanu Al-Azari pointing in the wrong direction. The stewards are taking a look at it, and then Antti Ramo later on having that spin himself. Now, whether that was just because the tyres were tired or whether it got damaged and the handling's gone away, but whichever it was, having led the race for so long, top job to Antti Ramo. Looking forward to seeing him during the remainder of this season and to see him up against these other drivers. Great racing. Valentino Catalano in 2nd place, now 12.2 seconds back from the race leader, Danny Sufi. Riccardo Cirelli, he's not done yet. The number 8 car looking to add to his 2nd place that he earned in race 2 earlier. Would very much like to get another 2nd place. He got a 3rd place yesterday. So far, car number 8 finishing on the podium in every race. And in the background, though, Felipe Laza. We said keep an eye on him. He was going to feature at the end. That's exactly what's happened. Felipe Laza in 4th place is going to give Riccardo Cirelli something to think about in the closing seconds of this race. The clock is about to strike 0. I'm looking to see where our leader is. He's around at turn 2. I can confirm that Keanu Al-Azari is still in the race. He's up at turn 8 at the moment. But we've got what will be about a lap and a half remaining of this race, and looking at the skies behind the commentary box, I'd say that's great news because we may well be getting some of the wet stuff before too long, but I think this race is going to finish in the dry. Danny Sufi looking solid in the lead, now 12.4 seconds ahead, but the fight for 2nd place by no means over. 2nd, 3rd, now being joined by 4th. And Felipe Laza fancies a little bit of silverware for himself and his co-driver and team boss, Klaus Abelin. He's running out of time to do anything about it. We've got about a lap and a half left of this race, but Laza, very experienced and very quick. And if Riccardo Cirelli can hold him off into turn 1 the next time around, that will be some achievement. In fact, Felipe Laza looking more eager even at this section of the track. Into turn 11 we come. Here's our race leader, Danny Sufi. How big does 12.5 seconds look? Well, bigger than that, because I think the gap has gone up. There is second place now, coming around turn 12 in towards turn 1. We're on to the final lap of the race. Valentina Catalano in second place. Suddenly Cirelli has his mirrors full of Felipe Laza. Is Laza gonna break his heart by stealing the podium position away? He was too far back into turn 1, so at the moment Riccardo Cirelli and Julian Apostolos third place is looking okay. Marcus Pommer, Valentina Catalano in that second place, looking solid themselves, but they can't afford to make a mistake in the closing stages of this, the final lap, and a mistake is exactly what Riccardo Cirelli does. A lock-up going into turn 6. Felipe Laza not close enough to capitalise on that, so as you were, the final lap of the race into turn 8 comes Danny Sufa. This is a long way back now, just heading towards turn 8. There is Valentina Catalana, Felipe Laza having a little look to the inside of Riccardo Cirelli, but still Cirelli in the last of the podium positions. Out of turn 12 though, Danny Sufi along with Torsten Gratz is gonna make it 2 races in a row. They won this afternoon in race 2. They win again in race 3. That goes with their second place from yesterday. A dominant win in the end. Valentina Catalano, Marcus Pommer into second place, and Riccardo Cirelli and Julian Apostolos holding off Felipe Laza for the last of the podium positions. But all credit to Felipe Laza and Klaus Abelin for that 4th place. Sven Bart is going to come home in 5th place along with Maxim Dirks and Keanu Al-Azari. Such a shame after that moment. So 4th place is still going to be his best result so far, but you just know it's only a matter of time before Keanu Al-Azari is standing on the top step of a podium. It's going to be at some point this year. You can probably bet your hat on that one, but nobody could live with that car here. Franz Conrad's team, Conrad Motorsport, the legendary team, Danny Sufi, the driver from America who has teamed up with Torsten Kratz from Germany. A great combination, and they win the race here ahead of Valentina Catalano and Marcus Pommer. Brilliant stuff. 3 races this weekend. All 3 of them have been absolute entertainment. And we're not just saying that, it really has been edge-of-your-seat stuff for all 3 races. There is the classification subject to confirmation. But Torsten Kratz, Danny Sufi doing it all right ahead of defending champion Marcus Pommer along with Valentina Catalano for Gerhard Motorsport in 2nd. The podium being rounded off by BWT Muka Motorsport, Riccardo Cirelli and Julian Apostolos. And as far as the point standings go, well, no surprises there. To the top of the points, Danny Sufi, Torsten Kratz, 70, Valentino Catalano, Marcus Pommer, just 9 points adrift. Julian Apostolos, Riccardo Cirelli in 3rd place. You get the feeling that this is going to be a championship that goes all the way to the last corner of the last lap. The closing races of the season are going to be at the Sachsenring in September, and that will be a real test, particularly for some of these drivers who have never raced there before, because it is a track that bites you on the backside and bites you hard. An undulating circuit. It's a wonderful circuit, Sachsenring. That's where it all closes in September. Before that, well, we're going to be at Zandvoort in July, and that is for round 2. We've got Hockenheim in August, and we have the Nürburgring also in August for round 4, part of the DTM package. So lots of racing still to come in the Prototype Cup Germany. We also have the race that was cancelled, one of the races that was cancelled from Spa-Francorchamps, so that is still to come. And That'll be slotted in at some point during the season, so keep your eyes on the socials for that, and we'll let you know when that race is going to be happening. So yes, to confirm, the next one is Zandvoort. I was just double checking on that for round 2, 12th to the 14th of July, the Summer Trophy. Then we're to the Hockenheim Ring in August, the 9th to the 11th, part of the ADAC race weekend. Then it's the Nürburgring, 16th to the 18th of August, and then it all comes to a close at the Sachsenring. And the last 2 rounds will be part of the DTM package, so there will be a very big crowd of people who will be in to watch them as part of that. Right, we're looking at the podium here, rounding off what has been a fabulous weekend for Prototype Cup Germany. And we're just waiting for our podium announcer, Toby Shimon, to introduce the drivers onto the podium. Third place is going to come first. Julian Apostolos, Riccardo Cirelli, a fairly potent combination. 2 great drivers and 2 great characters. Second place, well, they fought hard, but it wasn't going to be the top step at the moment. Marcus Pommer and Valentino Catalano. But Torsten Kratz and Danny Sufi making it 2 wins out of the last 2 races to go with their second place from yesterday. Almost a perfect score, bar 1 place, so really impressive stuff. Danny Sufi was the winning junior driver in the Junior Championship. And Torsten Kratz, the winning trophy driver. You've got the overall championship, the junior championship, and the trophy championship as well. And winning for the team for Conrad Motorsport. And they got Franz coming up. It looks like it. The man himself, the Conrad of Conrad Motorsport. Looks like it's going to be him who receives the trophy on behalf of the team. So let's have some national anthem. Brilliant stuff. I think it's fair to say, looking back on this weekend, I think it's been my personal favourite Prototype Cup Germany weekend ever in terms of racing. It is only the 3rd season for this growing championship, but every race has been so good. So much talent amongst the drivers, and each win has been very hardly fought. The trophy's been presented to first and second. And I cannot wait for Zandvoort, because Zandvoort, a very different kind of circuit. The big banked corners of Zandvoort in the sand dunes of the Netherlands. These cars were spectacular around there last year. They're going to be spectacular around there this year for their summer trophy, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. That'll be the next round from the 12th to the 14th of July. The flag has been put in the ground by Danny Sufi and Torsten Kratz. They are the championship leaders for Conrad Motorsport. But there are so many Chargers behind them who are waiting, champing at the bit, ready to steal that away. And the drivers that have done well here at the Lausitzring, it's a very different ball game at Zandvoort. It will be very different, and it may well be a very different result. In the meantime, the celebrations will start, and we can reflect on what has been 3 fantastic races in the Prototype Cup Germany. Cannot wait for race 4 coming soon from Zandvoort. We'll see you there.